There's a ton of negativity that goes on in the sports world, and I can't sit here and say I've never added to it. Let's be honest. But you know what? I figured let's do the opposite and let's spread some positivity. So, what I'm going to do is just simply say something I like about every single NFL team. It could just be a fun exercise. I highly recommend. In the comments, let me know some things that you like about teams that, aren't your favorite team, or even if they are your favorite team. What do you like about teams? Could be anything from who has the best uniform to the players you like to fans, all of that fun stuff. Let's just jump into it. I'm going to go alphabetically. So that's how, if you're just skipping to your team, that's how you know how to do it. So the Arizona Cardinals, I feel like there's a lot to like about them. I really like them, during the Kurt Warner years. That was a really fun team that nearly won the Super Bowl. Would have been really cool if they did. I think Kyler Murray and his connection to DeAndre Hopkins, that's just awesome. And I love their uniforms. I love their uniforms and their stadium. That just looks so cool on TV. So a lot of fun stuff with the Arizona Cardinals. The Atlanta Falcons, another great stadium right off the bat. I love how their owner actually will charge not that much money for food. Like there's those $2 hot dogs and $2 sodas. I think that's awesome. I wish more teams would do that. And Matt Ryan, one of the more underrated quarterbacks of his era. I mean, he's been incredible and deserves more credit than he gets, I think. The Baltimore Ravens, I love the Baltimore Ravens. They're one of my favorite teams. They're probably they're a top 3 favorite team of mine. It's the Buccaneers and then probably either the Ravens or the Raiders are 2 or 3. Those are my next 2 teams. Lamar Jackson is just electric. He is the most fun quarterback to watch maybe in the NFL. He's certainly up there. Again, absolutely electric. I like how their defense is built. They do have that kind of Moneyball style defense and just a Moneyball style front office as well. They go for it on 4th downs and things like that. They use analytics. I love all of that stuff. It's a really cool. The uniforms are cool as well. I think I love them back in their Joe Flacco years. Remember the miracle at Mile High. A lot of fun stuff with the Baltimore Ravens. The Buffalo Bills, maybe the best fan base in sports. If they're not the best, they might be the most passionate because those guys really care about football, and that's just awesome. Josh Allen, one of the more likable players in the NFL. It just, again, even I think the Josh Allen haters the first 2 years would admit, yeah, he just seems like a great guy. Absolutely cool. Stephon Diggs, another really likable guy. So the fact that those two are really good with each other is just, it's a blast to watch. So that's the main thing I like about the Buffalo Bills. The Carolina Panthers, I think what I like about them the most is Joe Brady. The way that he sort of has, coached this whole offense up, and Matt Rule also done a great job where they've kind of shown they can really be successful the way that they can scheme this stuff up. And also Christian McCaffrey, again, he's a human highlight reel. He's someone that you don't want to take your eyes off of the game if McCaffrey is in there because you're afraid you might miss something. So that's what I like about the Panthers. The Chicago Bears, you know what? I love the history of the Chicago Bears. I just think it's so cool. They go back 100 years. They're one of the OG NFL teams. I think that's awesome. And I love Soldier Field. Again, a great history. It seems like it's one of those fields that when you walk onto it, I mean, I've never walked onto it, but it seems like when you walk onto it, it's like you're walking onto, a piece of history that's out there. I also love how they went up and they said, you know what? We feel like we need a quarterback. We're going to go all in. We're going to trade up, draft Justin Fields and see, make the ballsy move because more often than not, history favors the bold. And so I like all that stuff about the Bears. Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow is awesome. He's one of the most electric young quarterbacks in the league. I think he's someone who didn't get talked about enough because of his injury, but that should be really fun to watch now with Jamar Chase. You have T. Higgins. This should be an electric offense. Really looking forward to that. The Cleveland Browns, another team that's analytic heavy, which I'm a fan of. And I also just think Baker Mayfield's personality is just incredible. Even when I was a little bit hesitant towards, how good is Baker Mayfield really, I really wanted him to be good because he's just such an electric personality and he has been good. So that makes it even more fun. So offense, incredible to watch. Stefanski, coach of the year, a lot of fun stuff with Cleveland and their fans sticking with them through, thick and thin. It hasn't been a lot of great so far, but you know what? It seems like they're on the up and up. So that's what I like about them. The Dallas Cowboys. I mean, love the Cowboys or hate the Cowboys, you can't deny that they're just a completely iconic franchise. And again, you walk into their $1 billion stadium, it's a stadium that's unlike any other. And how can you dislike Dak Prescott? Even the biggest Cowboys haters have to be like, man, Dak Prescott's pretty cool though, because he is. I mean, he just seems like a really likable guy. Hard to have a lot of bad things about Dak Prescott. The Denver Broncos. I think most people's favorite thing about the Broncos is the fact that the Denver Broncos beat the Patriots, in the playoffs a few times. So that's probably most people's favorite thing about them. I'm a big fan of Vic Fangio, even though it hasn't entirely worked out as hoped. I still think he's a really great head coach, or at least defensive coordinator, and there's still time for him to be a head coach. Big fan of Teddy Bridgewater as well. So hopefully these things work out. And guys they got great receiving cores, right? Jerry Jeudy, I think, is going to have a really good second year. Cortland Sutton, a really underrated receiver. So they have guys, Tim Patrick, another one. So they have guys that can be effective. We'll see how KJ Hamler works out. It's a really talented roster as a whole. So a lot to like about the Denver Broncos. The Detroit Lions, probably number one, is just going to be their fans. Their fans are, again, Lions fans, incredible. Another one of those fan bases that, despite the fact that they've had some rough patches, fans have stayed with them. It's still one of the best football areas around, it seems. So that's cool. Dan Campbell, an absolute character. He seems just hilarious, really fun. And I love how he's kind of has that, football guy mindset. They're building through the trenches. Just a lot of fun stuff with the Lions. The Green Bay Packers, another Lambeau Field right off the bat. I mean, Lambeau Field, that's just incredible. It's another one of those. Same with Soldier Field. It's just one of those stadiums. And, you have Lambeau Field, but you also have guys like Aaron Rodgers, who I really like. I don't know why he's got so much criticism. I mean, I watched him on the Pat McAfee show, and he seems like a hilarious guy. He seems really fun. I don't know why he gets so much criticism. I really like him. Like other personalities such as David Bakhtiari, Devontae Adams, both seem like very fun guys as well. So a lot of likable people and just some great talent. Even their defense has some really talented players like Jair Alexander. So they're a really talented team. Matt LaFleur, one of the real underrated coaches in the NFL. I mean, it's hard not to like the Packers. I mean, a lot of people do, but I don't. I don't know. I think the Packers are really fun. The Houston Texans, first off, Tyrod Taylor. I like Tyrod Taylor. I always feel like he kind of got a raw deal in Buffalo where he did take him to the playoffs. I'm not saying they were wrong to move off of him, but he's another guy who seems like one of the more likable guys in the league. He just goes about his business. He's found ways to get playing time, and that's cool. I also think that, listen, two good young tackles, Laramie Tunsil and Titus Howard. I think that stuff like that's good. Brandon Cooks is someone who, I wish he could just stay healthy because it's unfortunate. He's a really good player when he's on the field. He just kind of ran into injuries. So, they even add a guy like David Johnson. I do like him. I feel a little bad for him that just because of the Hopkins trade, like he's kind of unfairly gotten thrown under the bus, but it would be cool to see him do well. They signed a bunch of other halfbacks as well. So yeah, they're, I'm sure some people would say, what could you like about the Texans? There's some stuff there. The Indianapolis Colts, number one is Frank Reich. He's at times been in the coach of the year candidate situation. Obviously his first year with Luck is awesome. And then when Luck went away, they still have found ways to be competitive without that. And we'll see if they can sort of, make this Carson Wentz thing work now, because that would be awesome if they can make it happen. Colts, another team that I just love their uniforms. I don't know what it is. They're just the great uniforms. They're a great uniform team. The Jacksonville Jaguars. Well, the first thing I like about them is that my name is in their name, Jacksonville. So that's fun right off the bat. And they're just a fun team. That's probably the best way to describe them. Obviously, you drafted Trevor Lawrence, so that's kind of what this team is going to be built around. And there's a lot of, I like how to have that, three wide receivers who can be effective: Marvin Jones Jr., DJ Chark, and Laviska Shenault. And even their defense, I think their defense could actually be somewhat, maybe not good next year, but at least good in the future potentially, because, they have a lot of young guys. But like CJ Henderson, I made a video on him. I'm not sure if I posted that before or after this one, but CJ Henderson, I think, has a lot of potential. I was a big fan of Tyson Campbell coming out, so he could be good. They do have Shaquille Griffin as kind of a veteran who can sort of play until those guys are ready, perhaps. I also like Andre Sisco, a safety they drafted. So their secondary could end up being pretty good, and that's what a lot of what a defense is. So I actually think the Jaguars could get good sooner rather than later. And they have Tim Tebow too. That's another thing to like about them. The Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, first there's Andy Reid, right? How can anyone dislike Andy Reid? Andy Reid's like the most likable person on the planet. It seems incredibly likable. You have Patrick Mahomes, who, again, as a superstar, it's really difficult to get people to like you. Patrick Mahomes makes it really easy because he has such a just infectious personality. It's hard to not like a guy like that. Travis Kelce, another just big personality types. So absolutely some great personalities on the Chiefs, and another historic franchise that had been through the ringer. You know, they had some success lately, but those fans, they stuck with them as well through thick and thin. It's nice to see them have some success. The Las Vegas Raiders. Listen, I love the Raiders. I absolutely do. I think that the Raiders are just one of the most fun teams to have in the league. Again, love them or hate them, the league is better with them there, and it's definitely better with them being good. So I'm really hoping this next year they'll take the next step. I do like how Mike Mayock is going to just say, you know what? I'm going to pick who I want. I don't care about what Mel Kiper says. Like, I think that's kind of fun. I love John Gruden, one of the best personalities in the league. I like Derek Carr. I've been standing up for him for years, and now it seems like everyone's kind of come around and said, oh yeah, he is a pretty good quarterback. I guess you were right. A couple years ago, people were saying people should move off of him. I said, no. Raiders need to keep Derek Carr. And, you know, I was right. Bragging a little bit. I'll brag a little bit. You know, a little bit of bragging is good. If I'm making a whole video being positive, I think I deserve one brag in here. The Raiders are incredible. And great uniforms, great fans, great new stadium, just great everything with them. For the Chargers, first thing that comes to mind is Herbert, right? Justin Herbert, you know, one offensive rookie of the year. He's a great franchise quarterback, it seems. Had one of the better rookie seasons we've seen in quite some time. And it's cool that he proved all the doubters wrong. And basically everyone wasn't a fan of him except for the Chargers. And the Chargers said, well, we're going to take him anyways. And look at how well it worked out for them. So that's a very, very cool story. I'm looking forward to seeing what he'll do for the rest of his career. The Los Angeles Rams. Well, where to start? They have the best player in football if you take out positional value in Aaron Donald. That's pretty cool. How about a really good young coach in Sean McVay? That's also pretty cool. And they have Matt Stafford, one of the more underrated quarterbacks, because he was on some Lions teams that weren't great. Now that he gets to be put on a team that is really good around him, this could be a lot of fun to watch next year. The Miami Dolphins, Brian Flores is probably my favorite thing about them. I mean, he seems like such a likable head coach, the kind of guy you would want to run through a wall for. On top of that, I love their team building. I like how they try to get a bunch of receivers and secondary players. That makes sense. That's typically what leads to success. They scheme up the pressure that way. And, you know, they got Phillips, my favorite edge rusher in the draft, on top of that. So a lot to like about Miami. The Minnesota Vikings. Honestly, if I had to go out and say, okay, one team other than my favorite team is going to win the Super Bowl, I might choose Minnesota just because, you know, again, they've been a tortured franchise, but they have a great fan base, great stadium as well, awesome stadium, and cool uniforms. So you got a lot of good stuff right there. Mostly just like the history of everything. I like Harrison Smith, so they got some players as well. Obviously Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook, even Kirk Cousins. I like Kirk Cousins, sure, why not? So a good amount to like there for Minnesota. The New England Patriots. You know, Bill Belichick is the greatest coach I've ever seen personally. And he's someone who he was doing like stuff that the analytics say you should do 20 years before we had the analytics. Like, he just knew this is how you make stuff happen. So Bill Belichick he's a genius, quite frankly. And then you have guys like Cam Newton, who I always felt like Cam Newton got too much criticism. You know, he was one of those guys where, like, so what? He danced, whatever. It doesn't mean he's a bad person. Really seemed like a likable guy, and New England fans have really seemed to like him. So that's cool to see. The New Orleans Saints. Listen, I love how they'll talk. You know, that's what football is supposed to be about. They're a bunch of talkers. They'll tackle you, and then they'll say something to you. And I think that's fun. That's what makes sports fun, is kind of the back and forth of it all. And also Sean Payton being a guy who is just such an innovator. I mean, again, offensively, he might be the biggest innovator currently in the league, just in terms of what he's brought new to the league. For the New York Giants, first off, there's the history. One of my first memories as a football fan was in 2007. I was 12 years old, and the Giants upsetting the undefeated Patriots. That was just like such a, I hit my microphone a little. That was just like such a mind blowing moment. I couldn't believe that happened. And that's an awesome thing about them. I like Joe Judge. I think Joe Judge, again, I like how he clearly stood up for his guys after the Eagles, maybe not through that week 17 game. I like how he kind of stood up in that way. So that's what I like about the Giants. The New York Jets, there's actually a bit I like about the Jets. I like Zach Wilson a good amount. I'm a huge fan of Zach Wilson. I do like, kind of how they built their offense. I like Matt LaFleur a lot. I like Robert Saleh a lot. So I like how basically the cornerstones of the way they're trying to build this franchise, that's what I like about them. The Philadelphia Eagles. They're another team that it's like love them or hate them. The league is just better with them there. I love how they have a unique culture where it's like, no, we're going to boo people if they're not playing well. And you just know that as a player. And it's almost like not even a mean thing. It's almost just like, this is just what we do, which I like. I think that's really cool. And again, when they won the Super Bowl, you think that was awesome for all of those fans. They're another team that I like their stadium. I like their uniforms a lot. I think all of that stuff is really fun. For the Steelers, Mike Tomlin is my favorite thing about the Steelers. Again, he's an incredible head coach, and people got on me because I ranked him as the second best coach in the league. But you know what? I really believe it. I mean, for Mike Tomlin, a bad season is being a playoff contender. That's how good he's been and how consistently good he's been. Mike Tomlin makes the Steelers just incredibly electric. And again, of course, the history. I mean, 6 Super Bowls, tied for most in the NFL. That's awesome. The San Francisco 49ers are here. San Francisco, another team with a lot of history for sure. And I like Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan, again, he's accomplished a ton. So there's a lot of reasons to like him. They have some really fun players on defense. Nick Bosa, one of the more exciting, fun players on defense to watch. I like Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, and of course, George Kittle, who is just incredible. So basically, I like everything about the 49ers. That's how I feel. The Seattle Seahawks. So first off, stadium and uniform, big fan of both. I think that, again, it's just one of those more unique things, and it's fun how maybe that wasn't a huge deal like 15 years ago, but now it just feels like a huge deal. And in the Legion of Boom days, they were so much fun. I was in high school at the time, and a good buddy of mine was a big Seahawks fan. So we would always watch the playoff games. And I remember watching both Super Bowls with him, the very different reactions in those. But, that whole era was a blast, and it's still a blast now. Russell Wilson is an incredible quarterback, and I still like Pete Carroll a lot. So a lot of stuff to like about Seattle. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, my favorite team. I'm actually wearing a Buccaneers hat right now, as you can see, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Obviously, there's a ton I like about Tampa Bay. I think that, I guess I'll just say one thing, and it's that I love how they just went for it last year, and they just said, you know what, screw it. We're going to sign Tom Brady. We're going to try to win a Super Bowl right now. I don't care that we went 7-9 last year. We're going to add talent. Let's see how it works out. And they won a Super Bowl. I mean, that's awesome. And it's what I love about, again, team building in sports. Try to be great. Don't worry about being good for a long time. Try to be great now. And that's what they did. So absolutely love that. And of course, I love growing up and watching every game, going to Buccaneers games when I was younger, and watching them usually lose, but every now and then when weirdly enough, I think I've seen them lose 4 overtime games. I don't know what it is. It's at least 3. It might be 4. I don't know why I keep going to overtime losses. Very, very funny. But yeah, obviously love the Buccaneers. The Tennessee Titans, I think the first 2 things that just stand out to me is that, you have Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill, who are just 2 really good players. Henry, probably the most fun running back to watch in the league. And Tannehill, I think, a really underrated quarterback. I think he's great. And you throw on top of it A.J. Brown, you have that 3-headed monster on offense. And, I like how they drafted Caleb Farley. They've made some ground to improve their defense. They should be a really fun team to watch, as they typically always are a fun team to watch. At least these past few years they have been. And last but not least, the Washington football team. Again, another team with a lot of history. And my favorite thing right off the bat, first thing I thought of, Ryan Fitzpatrick, right? The most electric quarterback in the NFL. He's a blast to watch. So much fun to watch. I hope he gets a chance throwing to Terry McLaurin, throwing to all these guys they have, Dimey Brown, who they just drafted. They signed a guy. How am I blanking on who they signed? You guys will correct me in the comments. I don't know why I'm blanking on that. But, all of that, right? Wide receiver help, good offensive line, good quarterback, really good defense. Last year should be a good defense next year. This could be a very fun team to watch and a very exciting team. And Ron Rivera, again, the guy beat cancer last year and still took his team to the playoffs. That's just absurd. A ton to like about the Washington football team, I think. So yeah, thanks for making it to the end of this positivity-filled episode, positivity-filled video. Let me know if you made it to the end. I asked at the beginning, say something positive about another team. How about this? Say something positive about your biggest rival. That's the challenge for you. Come up with what you like about your biggest rival. I did it with all the Buccaneers' biggest rivals. I'm sure you guys can do it. It's a lot of fun. I don't know how well this video is going to do, views wise, but it was fun to make. So hope you guys enjoyed it. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.